What's going on, everybody? It's Rick from Worms with Rick. This is the natural bedding bin. I placed a brown paper bag on top of the feeding area for that last feeding. Looks like they've eaten a hole through that section right there. Got my little roly-poly bugs. So, the last feeding I had was some cucumber and the pulp from the juicer. So, let's see what we got going on. Still seeing worms in that feeding area. There's the skin from the cucumber and a whole bunch of those seeds. I think I may have some of those seeds start sprouting in the bin, which I am okay with. So this material looks really great. Still seeing a lot of leaf matter. So that's good for these guys. Let me quick see what's going on over here. Oh, I still got my pine needles. So instead of moving that over, what I think I'm going to do is just reverse this bin again. So then I'll feed where those pine needles are. Okay, so there's that. I do have some fresh leaves that I want to add anyway. Yeah, so there's some of these pine needles here. And from when I added them, they were real dry. Now they're real kind of soft and pliable from the moisture from the bin. I have a peace lily that some of the leaves were dying and I needed to trim some out, so they're getting added. And then also just some shredded leaves. Yeah, see, there's some more of the pine needles. It's not necessary, but what I like to do is when I add the fresh bedding, I try to add a little bit of the castings from the bin. That helps to kind of inoculate the new bedding, get the microbes on the new dry bedding. So then once I add the food scraps and the juices kind of start flowing, everything's going to kind of mix together nicely. Typically, I like to add the coffee grounds more on the dry bedding stuff. So I have the coffee grounds from the K-Cup. There we go. I find that the microbes really enjoy the coffee grounds. So the coffee grounds are just another food source for the microbes and the worms. It is high in nitrogen. So the nice thing with this bin is it's large enough that if this area heats up, the worms can escape this way or even this way to get away from any potential heat. I have two corn cobs. These actually are straight out of the freezer. I didn't go ahead and pull them out and thaw them out completely, so that'll be okay because there'll be enough area for the worms to get out of that zone. And then I have pulp from the juicer. So, as I've said before, my brother makes different juices during the week, saves me the food scraps and the pulp, puts it in his freezer, and then when I visit, he goes ahead and loads me up with some of the freezer bags with the pulp already ready to go for the worms. I did wipe my glove off with a paper towel earlier, so I will finish wiping it off from the food scraps. On top of the feeding, I always like to add a little bit of ground up eggshells, which the worms use as a grit. Not a super necessary thing. However, I like to do it because I go ahead and eat a bunch of eggs on the weekend and then they just pile up and I either have to get rid of them in the compost, out in the garden, whatever. So for me, it's easier, and then I know that the worms are getting the grit. Plus, with the eggshells, for the calcium to become bioavailable for the plant, it needs to go through a process breaking down with microbes. So when the worms eat it, wiggle around, it helps digest their food, but it also goes through their intestines to process those eggshells. So one of the reasons why I like to do it this way. I'm going to just drop this on top. Once again, everything was in the freezer, and then I like to make sure that I cover the food scraps and the new feeding area with some of the castings, leaves, whatever material I have. If it's just the bedding, that is okay, cardboard, leaves, whatever. But typically, I like having some of the castings because that has some of that biology already there, and then that helps to kind of infiltrate that new feeding area. Now on top of this feeding area, I'm going to add my worm chow that's mixed up in this little container. This is pulverized oats that were expired, flour, cornmeal, and a little bit of pulverized eggshell. Another thing that's not necessary, but I like to do it because this is available for the worms right now. As they come up, they can take this, very fine powdery substance, eat it, go on, and it'll take a couple days, especially for that corn cob to thaw out and then kind of get the microbes in there to make it more kind of appetizing for the worms. One thing about corn cobs, if you guys haven't tried it before, and this is from sweet corn, those sugars really get the worms going. So if I can, I'll try to get in here maybe in the next 7 days and see how the corn cobs are looking. Okay, let me just, I don't like it super, I got a couple high spots in there, so everything looks pretty level now. The worms are doing a great job on this bag. I think I'm going to leave it doubled up like that. That also kind of helps to give a little weight in that area. I don't know if it's something with how the worms are, but with the way they kind of like squirm around and push through things, I think they kind of like a little bit of pressure. It's just something that I've kind of seen over the years. I appreciate all the new subscribers. Thank you for coming along following the worm journey with me. If you haven't subscribed already, think about subscribing so you can come check out the other bins I have. I appreciate all the questions. If you guys have any questions, make sure you drop them down in the comments. Thanks for coming along, checking out the video. Everybody have a great day.